It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all to another action-packed edition of the Andy and Rem Show, episode 162. Dominion has been unleashed. For anyone at home who's playing the Remington's blinds, are they open or closed game? Now is your just a couple of seconds to guess, because we're about to reveal that they are in fact open. So it's quite a streak for the open blinds, isn't it?
It is, but we're approaching summertime, and that comes with pros and cons. The pros being lighting, nice views. The cons being moths. Moths may enter the building.
Well, you would think that, but some of us have strategically velcroed nets around our windows to stop the moths entering.
That's very wise.
That's Andy's top tip there. They can be acquired very cheaply on eBay, these nets as well.
Moths are my nemesis. I don't like moths. I can go into it, but let's not do that tonight.
We'll have to do a Mothra special at some point.
Yes, absolutely.
But tonight is not the night for that, because we've got enough spice to be sinking our taste buds into. Because Dominion was revealed. Those who said that Hobgoblins were coming back, and that there was a bit of a Lord of the Rings orc vibe to the new stuff, it turns out they were completely correct, because just scroll past this lot. There we go. A look at some box contents. Well, you can't really tell from that, so we'll come back to the contents shortly. But what everyone wants to see, of course, is the Stormcast. No, of course you don't want to see the Stormcast right now. Let's go right past them for the moment and get to the stuff everyone's really been talking about. The Cruel Boys. So first of all, I'm not sure about that as a name.
Is my mic working?
It seems to be.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, the Cruel Boys. Well, look, that's all right. That's easily memorable, right? It's better than, Lumineth Realm Lords or Ideneth Deep King. It's like the Cruel Boys. 2 syllables, easy.
I think people are complaining that your mic doesn't sound as good as usual.
Oh, but that's you, Andy. You told me to mess with it, man.
I think you've set it so it's a different microphone collecting the noise now.
No, I've turned it up. How's that? Oh, yes, no. You guys are right. How about that? There we go. That should be beautiful now.
So you're talking about 5 seconds before the show when I said, when you were fixing your technical problems, have you switched it back to the right microphone? And you assured me that you had. It turns out that was a big fat lie.
It switched to my Pro Logitech webcam. That's fine now. Look, everyone's loving the voice. What do you think of these swamp orcs, though? I don't know. Mixed feelings. I don't know. Maybe it's the color scheme. They look like mixture between goblins and orcs. But look, that is a magnificent figure. That's undeniable. Isn't it strange, though, the size of the legs compared to the torso?
Yes, they do seem to have tiny legs. It might be a little bit harsh because there might be some kind of shrouding of some of the leg going on there.
Oh, so you think his knees are bent and we can't see that?
I think that could be the knee right there, and then the thigh goes all the way up to there. So I think it may not be as crazy as it seems. His arm actually looks quite small in this angle as well, quite small, skinny arm.
It's just a feature of these new Aurochs, they're sort of hunched over. But I got to say the shields. I love the shields because they've still got that comedic vibe to them. It's like a squigged, stretched face over some wood. Nice.
The Remington audio advice now, I think, is to take one small movement back away from the microphone. Then we'll be fine.
How's that? And that should be beautiful.
Perfect.
What about the beast he's riding on? What is that? Is it like a
It's
cog?
quite a hideous creature. It does look like something that an orc would be riding on in Lord of the Rings, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. They look like what Warg riders should have been, really. Yeah, all together very much like Lord of the Rings. Absolutely.
They're
Yeah,
kind of believable compared to some of the
yeah,
other orcs
yeah,
that we've seen lately.
yeah. I mean, I think we're looking at one of the best ones there. Definitely, that's the leader of the Oryx you get in the box set of Dominion. So that is your champion.
What about this
Is
one?
it
We've got the Swamp Caller Shaman and Pot Grot.
the pot grot is a winner. Love the pot grot.
It looks like he's wearing a watch.
I mean, does this mean we're going to get grots then? We could get a grot book, right? That could be one path to travel. Raphael March, hello, my friend. He's loving the New Yorks. Very cool. Will Matthews says it looks like the mutant bear. That is the steed he was riding. The mutant bear from Fallout. Yeah, this
This
guy's
is a little
cool,
bit
man. This guy could definitely work in an Auric army, maybe even a Savage Auric army too, right?
interesting point here from Josh, who says the orcs look almost like they were designed for Forge World. Makes me wonder if they were brainstormed as an old world Forge World release to begin with, and then maybe someone in the Age of Sigmar team caught a glimpse of them walking past the Forge World room and thought, "Hey, we want that for our game system. Hand over the sketches."
Yeah. Yeah, well, could be. What's on his back? It's like he's got stalagmites growing from his back.
Something weird going on. Could just be spikes.
Top of his shield, maybe. But yeah, they're 2 thumbs up from me for both those models. One thing I've noticed, Andy, right? If you just scroll down a tad there, you see that little bird head attached to the shaman's belt.
Yes.
That little bird head seems to appear on so many models, right? I've seen that bird head on Clan Etchen models as well. You just see them on so many characters here and there. You know what is that? Why do people like collecting, or is it rat heads? I don't know. Bird heads. What do they do?
It could be a rat's head.
Skulls on
Could
the
be
sorry,
like
skulls.
a
Bird
Zangor
skulls.
Zangor skull or something. They've
It's
got
just too
kind
small.
of beastie kind of heads. It's some kind of weird creature.
But is it like, look at me? I killed some birds. I'm going to collect them as trophies.
Maybe it's a magical bird.
Hmm.
Kill a
Anyway,
boss with Stabgrot.
keep your eye out for those.
So this guy's obviously got a very nice shield. It looks like you've got options for this one as well, with a different weapon option available there.
I love that
the
weapon.
Stabgrot though.
The stab grot is flipping awesome. Love that guy. I could like a whole army of these, man.
That's what I was thinking when I saw this guy. I thought, wouldn't it have been cool if, as part of the old world, the Goblin army had like an elite Goblin fighting unit in full armor? That would have been quite fun.
Yeah, this is it. This for me. These are the new goblins, man. They look wicked. And look at the legs of the Auric there. That's again confirming Dwardin legs and sort of troll-like torsos.
Yeah, they do definitely have short-ish legs. Definitely a little bit shorter than the torso. It could just be the angles, but I am definitely leaning towards short legs. That seems to be the general consensus in the community. But is that a problem? It's kind of old school looking. We got a frozen Remington there.
I love. Oh, am I frozen? I shouldn't be.
Picture's frozen.
That's strange, isn't it? Oh, bloody hell. My camera's playing up.
People can still see you kind of contemplating with your eyes closed.
Yeah, I'm looking at myself on the YouTube thing. Oh, what's going on, man? This is annoying. I was so hyped for this show. But you can hear my voice at least. Let me try and fix it.
Yes, we'll continue looking while Remington tries to fix it. And if he should ever drop out of the call, you will see the inner workings of this show, because that'll completely mess up the layout of everything I've got on the screen if he were to ever drop out of the call.
I'm still here.
He's still there.
How's that? That should work now. Yeah, but I'm back on.
Very well. What do you think about this one then? Merc Knob with Belcher banner. So that one there, that face, very much Lord of the Rings to me. You could see that guy among the orcs in one of those films, couldn't you?
Yeah, it looks very realistic. It's a very beautiful looking face, isn't it? It's more like, you know, like the bigger miniature sculpt heads you get, like for people that want to get better at painting. You know, the bigger versions. It's like you can imagine a bust of that face, couldn't you? Now, what I would have done if I was on the lead, if I was the leader of the design team, I would say, okay, look, we've got to have just a little hint at novelty with these orcs. Let's put a Mohican on him, or let's give him a comb over, some strands of hair, or some, you know, crazy thing on his head that would give it just, you know,
They are very gritty, aren't they?
yeah, it's serious, isn't it? It's serious. It's only the shield that brings the comedy to it. And look at the head on the spike. That's phenomenal detail.
You know what
Yeah.
catches me actually? One thing I would do differently. I'm not sure the red on the kind of belly plate goes that well with the metal colours they've got going on and the kind of the browns.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very down to earth, and all that catches your eye really is this big thing up here and the skin. I think maybe something could be a different colour on the clothing.
Yeah.
My expert painting input there.
What other colours do you call bright yellow?
I don't
We've
think
done
yeah.
that already.
I don't want to see yellow. I like the down to earth vibe, but I think maybe just something that stands out a bit more in the clothing department.
I
This,
mean, you could
this
have
red
little
to my
bronze.
eye just blends in too much with the surrounding fabrics and metals.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it does. I mean, look, it does look magnificent, doesn't it?
Yes.
What else is different? Are the teeth sizes smaller? Because with the old orcs, the teeth, the bottom teeth would come over the top lip, wouldn't they?
They've brought everything down. Everything seems to be more realistically proportioned. The hands and the heads aren't gigantic. If you compare them to the 40k orcs and the way they've been going, they've been getting like the massive lower jaws, just huge teeth. So it could just be a nice way to differentiate them.
We got some comments here from Sidu Kurakan. He says, surely you would need longer legs if you lived in swamps. And he's got a point there, right?
That sounds like good logic to me. But only if
Yeah.
you're actually walking in the swampy waters and not just on the dry bits.
Now, love this guy. Look at that. That's a big crossbow, isn't it? That one. It's like a bolt thrower.
That certainly is, and there's more of them.
And in the video, you see that piercing through the armor of a Stormcast Eternal, which we like to see. The other thing I like about that video, Andy, is that the Stormcast you see at the start with the beard, half of me was thinking, is that Sigmar? Wandering through his realm, being handed his hammer and, you know, staff, and he's the first one to get shot, which I like.
But word on the street is that the Stormcast are going to have more visible flesh now, more helmetless heads, which would be
So
nice.
Where did you hear that?
That was just someone on Twitter, I think, was talking about that.
Well, isn't it a bit late for that? They've just released like a ton of Stormcast figures over the years. You know?
Well, they have been injecting more personality into them as time has gone on.
Yeah, they look less like automatons for sure. Yeah, that's true. This is magnificent. The more I look at them, the more I'm sort of liking them.
There's a lot of detail, but it's not silly, over-the-top, pointless detail.
Yeah, and I suppose you've still got the savage orcs. If you want the more comedy-looking savage orcs, you've got those, I guess. Now the old plastic orcs and metal orcs. I mean, having painted an army of those, sort of, you know, from the Orcs and Goblins army, they started to get really kind of, especially just the flat out, straight up orc warriors. They got really boring to paint. You know, they had those big shields and the big swords, all pretty much the same posture. You know, all ridiculously muscly. These guys have a lot more, let's say, personality almost, don't they? But more viciousness to them.
Yeah, they are similar in appearance, it has been pointed out, to some of the original orcs from way back as well. Some of the old classic metal ones.
Yeah, they look meaner, don't they? They look more swamp-like, I suppose. Yeah, more troll-like.
And getting lots of comments here. So Brad thinks that Hobgrot's paving the way for evil Dwarden. So I think we all want to see a return of Chaos Dwarves in some capacity.
Well, yes, we've had, you know, if these races come in groups of 3, you know, we've got the Sky Dwarves and we've got the Fire Dwarves. Maybe there's room for another dwarf faction, right?
Chaos Dwarves used to be quite heavily into the whole fire thing, didn't they? So they would have to rework their evil ways slightly. Otherwise, they'd be too similar to the Fire Slayers.
Why don't we do 180, or is it a 360?
I don't think they've got 360s on these.
Why can't there be Ice Dwarves, right? They can have like bring back the Alpine Dwarf vibe, but they're evil. They're on skis and with big blunderbusses and big goggles on.
You were almost onto something there until you said they're on skis.
But some of them could be. Right, they could be the fast skirmishing ones. Or they could have like tennis rackets for shoes. It's like snowshoes.
I think we're wandering into a realm that maybe we shouldn't be now. And they're not going to give us an ice race anyway when there's Kislev on the horizon for the old world at some point in the far future. I think they might stay away from ice.
But that would be interesting though, wouldn't it? Like the where the Chaos Dwarves lived has all been like frozen over.
Leading to skis, tennis rackets for shoes,
stilts,
toboggans.
Snows, yeah, that could be their chariots. Could be fun.
Snowball cannons.
Cedar says riding mountain goats. This is it. You heard it here first on the Andy and Rem show. And look, you heard it first on the Andy and Rem show. Was it last week or the week before? Didn't I say, Andy, that we want Stormcast chariots? But we'll see that.
Yes, we will get to that. So these are the ones that have captured some people's imagination. The new hobgoblins, Hobgrots.
Love them.
So they're similar to the old hobgoblins. They've got the similar kind of facial makeup with the overhanging noses. But they look not so much Lord of the Rings compared to the other orcs. I think these could fit in somewhere like in a Skyrim type game, something like that.
Yeah, they kind of look like slavers, don't they? You know, they're a bit sort of fat, dumpy, but really cruel. And the helmets sort of hark back to the cloth caps almost of the metal hobgoblins. You know that shape?
I think it is all in the noses, because the ones that look like Lord of the Rings have kind of the upturned noses, like the snouts.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas these ones, just that slight difference, just that little nose going from an up to a down nose, suddenly makes it look completely different.
Absolutely.
Looks like Remington's fixing his camera again. There we go.
Yeah.
But they are very nice.
I really like them. Are we going to see much of them, or is it sort of you get 5 in a unit and they've only created 5?
I think there's quite a few of these in the starter box actually, and if we assume that they're just going to be part of this overall race, the Cruel Boys, it's going to be the Orcs and the Hobgrots, then potentially in the future, we've seen what happened with Goblins. They eventually got their own factions after a while. So somewhere down the line you could see Hobgrot-centered army. And I'm sure you'd be able to make an army just of Hobgrots anyway, I imagine.
Yeah. I like the grenades they've got there. They look like fun. Yeah.
William says 20 Hobgrots in launch box.
Wow. That's a lot, isn't it? That's serious numbers there. So, what do you think? Are these guys like sort of skirmishing troops? Are they like you wouldn't say they were like front line, would you?
They don't look particularly weedy. So I'd assume they'd be stronger than like a goblin, but not quite as powerful as an orc. But they definitely look like quite a tough fighting unit.
I mean, they've got the lower teeth thing going on, haven't they, as well? Some of the heads and necks look a bit strange, almost like they've been molded from plasticine, sort of elongated a bit.
Yeah, the proportions are very strange, but it does stop them looking quite as humanoid in certain areas. It makes them look a bit more otherworldly.
So Cedar said there, thanks for writing again, Cedar. Wasn't it hinted they get the grenades from the new version of Chaos Dwarfs? Well, where was that hinted? And why are they being put with Oryx if they're... I don't know. Need more. More information is required.
That would be nice.
They're a chaff unit.
They look a bit tougher than a chaff unit, though, don't they? They look it, at least. It could just be because of how mean they appear.
Right, okay. I'm sure they've got some kind of special skill that just makes them just not chaff. Maybe in certain situations they could be kind of...
This is the kind of faction where I'd be really tempted if, for example, I wanted to play them in a skirmish game. Because I think I'd really enjoy painting a few of these because they are very nice models. But if they are just the ultimate chaff unit and you need 1 billion of them if you wanted to field an army of just these, then that would definitely steer me away from them.
Yeah, got you. Got you. I mean, the biggest differentiator as well is the color of the skin, right? If these were green, would they still look orcish?
They're a slightly different shade, aren't they? I can't tell exactly what colour they are. There is definitely some green in there, isn't there?
No, I mean, we might see some new paint colours coming out after these. Who knows?
Yeah, anyone with really good colour vision. What colour are these hobgrots exactly? Let's see. What else is under the lid? Well, we'll go. Actually, let's go up and look at the Stormcast that come in the box now. Gone through the hobgrots, and we'll get to what's coming up in the future for them as well in a minute. But let's look at what else is in the box first of all.
I think they're like a Balor brown colour. If I'm looking at my Citadel paints.
So we've already seen this model, haven't we?
Yeah, this
on
is
the steps
amazing.
with the wonderful wings. We had a nice look at this a week or two ago.
She comes in the box set as well.
Yes. So
I mean, that's a great box.
Look at the entire contents there. It looks like you've got quite a few heroes. You've got the one with the flag there. You've got her with the wings. You've got some kind of caster there. And I think we're going to see all of them now. So there is... Does this guy come in the box? I assume he does. So look at those options. You can have the very Caradron-like helmet going on there. Or you can have... The head is nice as well, though, with the beard.
Yeah.
2 valuable options there.
I wonder if you could paint the beard like as if it was a real beard and it was like a half helmet, half covering his face with his beard sticking out the bottom.
I'm sure you could give it a go. Comes with a little Griffhound as well. And then, so that's 2 so far with the helmet option. Here's another one with kind of a... I assume that's a helmet rather than a mask, but still you have the option of using it or not.
Absolutely love it.
Would you go with the helmet or the skin?
Ooh, I don't know. I love painting skin, but the helmet looks weird and wonderful, doesn't it? I love the curly pattern.
It's a very unique helmet. It's a shame to not use that anywhere in your army, that helmet. But that is a nice head as well. So yeah, I'd be pretty torn on what to use there. Maybe people will just magnetize them. Or maybe you won't be able to. Maybe the head will come in 2 pieces and that just slaps onto the front.
What's the head thing behind? Is that like a head, some kind of headrest?
Yeah. It'll shield you from being shot with an arrow in the back of the head, I suppose.
Yeah, is it maybe when you're sleeping that your head sort of nestled in there, or you just shove a pillow around the back. I don't know what that's for.
One of those little pillows you get on a plane. Just cram it in
Yeah,
there.
that
I'm
could
sure
be
that's
$1 million.
forefront of Stormcast's battle attire thinking. So, Knight Vexilor. So we've seen one of these before, but he didn't have nearly as impressive a banner.
Yeah, that was amazing. These new Stormcast warriors look just a little bit more streamlined, don't they? Around the waist area, they look a bit more athletic.
Yes, I think rather than just describing all the ways in which they're improved, I think I could just say they look better. Like
And their
in
legs,
every way, don't they?
maybe their legs are slightly longer.
It's just an improvement to the design in general.
I mean,
Streamlined it, made everything look sleek. There's they they're telling a bit more of a story, I feel like, some of these models as well, especially with the face options that you have now.
yeah, I mean, Andy, if we're talking about introducing more flesh in the Stormcast, then you know where the 4-pack is or 6-pack, that could be flesh. The legs could be all flesh apart from the knee plate and the thigh plate. And just those two things alone would just give it a lot more character, I think.
Lots of flowing cloaks as well with these ones, which were very absent, obviously, from the initial Stormcast release.
Yeah, real nice.
When you look at the basic troops on the ground, there wasn't a lot of cloakage going on.
Yeah, I mean, this of course is another advantage of having round bases, isn't it? You know, there's more space.
They're definitely filling it as well.
Yeah.
Lots of flowing fabric all over the place. Another exposed head.
Yeah, real nice. Do you know, I just flicked through these yesterday, and I think I didn't really take my time to look at just how good these miniatures are. Right? Real nice, man. I'm tempted.
So they're very nice. And then there's what were they called? The Praetors. Then we've got the Annihilators, which are the ones we've already seen. The ones with the big shoulders and massive shields and a bit of a snazzy hammer as well.
They've got the thunder thighs, haven't they? So maybe that's yeah.
Yes, they definitely have chunk going on, don't they? They're
This
large.
Definitely an anvil unit, right?
I assume they're filling the role that the Retributors would have been filling previously, the big giant hammer warriors.
I mean, they'd have a good saving throw, you'd like to think, wouldn't you? Right? There's just no flesh there. There's no way of penetrating them.
You would think. Just big, tough, probably more wounds than your average Stormcast.
Yeah, I mean, these look the most like the old Stormcast. It's just the shields that are giving them a different vibe. And I do like the round shields better.
It's the way they went with the design of Space Marines in recent years. Like, here's a Space Marine, now here's a Space Marine inside a larger Space Marine suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's like there's a Stormcast warrior in there, and then they've put another suit of armor on him on top.
Got ya.
So they're pretty cool, but like you said, more similar to the old Stormcast. So see that Cedar doesn't find them as interesting as some of the other new ones. But you do have an exposed head there.
I mean, if you were a general, right, of any kind of opposing force trying to fight these guys, you just find no way of penetrating that armor. That's obvious. Arrows wouldn't really be good, and you know, what would you use? I mean, I'm thinking you just use some kind of slowness spell, right? Some kind of marshy ground just to slow them down, grind them to a halt somehow.
William says they have a 2+ save.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? 2+ save.
Cedar says they're very static, which I agree.
Right.
And what kind of movement would you have liked to see on them?
A really short movement range.
I'd like to see, but in terms of the models, I'd like to see the poses like maybe braced behind the shield a bit more to give the impression that these are kind of relying on their ridiculous armor. Okay, Vindictors. So these are your pointy boys and girls.
Now these should definitely have a lot more flesh because these are like more athletic, in and out, jabbing.
Very stabby.
Yeah, it's good to see some bare naked heads.
Some hairstyles as well. They're not all the same hairstyle. Like that head there very much would have fit in with the initial batch of Stormcast releases. One on the left there.
The plumes.
I am a fan of these. I mean, they don't have cloaks flowing all over the place, but they do look very sleek. And I think you've used the word athletic to describe these ones before.
Yeah, yeah.
Way more like historical, ancient warriors. Interesting hairstyle there, lots of texture on it.
Yeah, I wonder what they looked at. Did they look at Spartan, Macedonian, ancient Greek?
Certainly looks that way, especially compared to the old Stormcast. Brad says a lot more bearded helms this time around.
And all these come in the box as well, then, do they?
Yes. Everything we've seen there comes in the box. So let's scroll down past the Cruel Boys again and we'll get to the stuff that isn't in the box. So
You'd have to say, Andy, you don't really fancy the Cruel Boys' chances there, do you?
I don't know.
Look at that cover photo there for the storybook you get with it. War at Amberstone Watch. Look how athletic the Stormcast looks there. He looks magnificent. Just something out of the Iliad, right? Something out of the story about the siege of Troy.
Yes.
Real nice.
And I do think that the Stormcast, with these kind of poses, they could have made them look even kind of snobbier. If they gave them, like, bare flesh legs or something.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. I think that could have upped the kind of snobbery tone that we were suggesting as something they could have gone for.
Yeah.
And they could have had peasants hanging out with them.
Andy's way of agreeing with me. I like it.
They haven't gone that way with the peasant, like servants almost.
No.
But they do look tasty.
There's a big elephant in the room, Andy, except it's not. It's a hoofed elephant, and that is the absolute leader of these Cruel Boys is a giant beastman centaur.
Well, yeah, it's not quite an elephant in the room, is it?
No, it's Kragnos basically, and I just don't see how he fits in with the Cruel Boys. But we've said it before. I'll say it again. He's Beastman all day long. But there you go.
Kragnos should have been the one that was leading the Beastmen out of a hidden realm or something.
Yeah,
the new Beastmen.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it's. I mean, look, we've not read through it yet, but it seems like they're moving away from Gork and Mork entirely with these new Aurochs, right? Because the whole concept behind Gork and Mork is a little comedic, isn't it?
Yes.
These guys look much more serious and more, yeah.
They claim it's the best rule set ever, by the way.
Who claims?
Games Workshop. So we'll have to judge that for ourselves. I don't know if we can compare it too much to the previous edition. Did we actually play it? Did we play any games at all of the last edition?
I think we might have had one or two.
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, what new rules do you think they've brought in? We'll have to find out, won't we? The actual battle table or whatever they've got there is phenomenal, isn't it? It's like the swamp. They've got the swamp mist. They've got these pools there, and I love those floating triangles of earth. I wonder if that's actual scenery that we'll be able to get.
They don't usually show you a lot of scenery that you can't buy, do they?
No, they've got some wooden platforms and stairs there, which you can.
Yeah, so I would very much like to see some like floating islands like that, because those two look like they could just be the same kit, rotated slightly.
Yeah,
That would
and
be nice.
basically it could be like multi-purpose because you could turn it upside down and you get like a little hill or a little sort of burial mound. What do you think?
Brad says, Kragnos looks like overt destruction. Cruel boys are about stabbing in the back. Where is the common thread besides them both being part of destruction? I think the fact that the Grand Alliances, they have Grand Alliances, possibly ties their hands a little bit, and you end up grouping lots of things together that maybe should have a bit more separation between them. For example, the Skaven being part of Chaos, some people don't agree with. Because the Beastmen, even though they are of Chaos, you would say they have more in common with orcs than they do demons, probably, wouldn't you?
Sure thing. I mean, you would. Thanks, Josh. Josh has written you get 39 Cruel Boys and 21 Stormcast. So I guess that tips the balance a bit, doesn't it, in the Cruel Boys' favour?
Should we see what's next after Dominion then? So, more stuff that's coming out. Knight Judicator with Griffhounds. So that is quite a magnificent archer.
How much damage can you do with just one archer, do you think? Do you think he's somewhat of a hero sniper?
Well, if you recall, my Knight Venator, I think that's the one, the bow, magic once per game shot that would always roll a 1.
It's like, is it like D6 hits or something, D6 wounds or something?
Something like that. So yeah, if it's just one attack that might be incredible, then it's always bound to miss if it's a bow. Does have some very agile looking Griffhounds there as well.
Yeah, they look great, man.
Should we look at the main event for the Stormcast now, as far as I'm concerned? The Storm Strike Chariot.
Agreed, man. Look at that. Look at that. So good. The plumes in their hair, the gracefulness of it all. These look like bigger Griffhounds, don't they? I've just noticed that.
Yeah, they're like mega Griffhounds. Have we had I don't think we've had any cavalry on these, have we?
What for Stormcast? I've had a lot of different types of cavalry.
I don't remember these specific creatures though.
No, they're not this big. No.
What does it say? Does it tell us what they're called? Griff Charger. We've had Griff Chargers, but they don't look exactly like the other Griff Chargers we've seen.
No, you've had individual Stormcast on Griff Chargers, I suppose. Yeah.
They don't look the same to me though.
Chris Stewart, hello, my friend. He says wheels on the chariots don't quite fit there. What do you think? We could do with some spikes coming out the side, couldn't we? Some scythes. I suppose you could add them
the
on
wheels may be lacking a little bit. The actual chariot body itself is maybe lacking something, but the people on it and the creatures pulling it, definitely thumbs up from me. So if there's one Stormcast thing that I would buy to add to my existing army, it would be this. And if I was starting a new Stormcast army with the contents of the new box, I would definitely add at least one of these to it.
Yeah, it's actually very simple chariot. If you compare that to the Dark Elves chariot, the monster hunting one, that's actually such a beautiful model to paint. It's so sleek and ingenuitive. This is just a basic chariot, right? There's but it works. It looks really good. There's nothing special about the, what do you call it? Is it the axle? No, the thing that's connecting the Griffhounds together. They might have thought about having a spike on the front of that. You wouldn't like to be on the end of that, would you, after a charge?
Yeah, it does seem to be lacking spikes, actually. Maybe that's what jumps out about it. Not as pointy as your average chariot.
No, we could do that. But the movement of the charioteers looks really, really good. Really nice. I wonder if you get any options in this.
Be interesting to see that. I think that's going to be a very popular kit, though.
Yeah, so this doesn't come in the box. You think this is going to be a separate thing? Then?
Yes, I think it'll be very popular because someone like me who's looking at the box and thinking, do I really want to paint loads more kind of regular foot infantry stormcast when I've already got a ton of different ones from back in the day? Or
Yeah.
do I want to just add some spicy new things like this? So this would be the one that tempts me to buy it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but is this the first Age of Sigmar chariot we've seen? Because we had obviously a lot of chariots in Warhammer 7th edition, 8th edition, right? And chariots that were built for that, like the various Chaos chariots, the High Elf Lion chariot, and the Dark Elf one I've just mentioned. And of course, then you got the old school Beastmen chariots and Orcs and Goblin chariots.
We've seen Chaos Chariots, but I don't know whether they were actually
They're old
released
models, man.
during Age of Sigmar. I'm pretty sure they
No.
were all pre Old World blowing up, like the Slanesh chariot. Wasn't that pre World blowing up as well?
Oh, that's a good point. I believe so. Yeah. So I mean, the one complaint was when Age of Sigmar come out, there was like no place for chariots. It seemed. But what the usefulness? What is the usefulness of a chariot
Well,
in
I
war
did
games?
I did see people complaining online that chariots aren't actually very effective in real life. And of course everyone slapped them down with things like, well, you know, magic spells aren't very effective in real life. And floating platforms and giant monsters kind of don't exist in real life. So
Yeah, Josh has said the Slanesh big boss. Can't remember his name, but he's the guy eating loads of food. He's on a big chariot. So
it's kind
or
of
is
like a
is that
chariot.
or is it a palanquin?
They do
That's
have
a palanquin,
chariots
really.
as well, but that one isn't that too much of a chariot.
But what would you say? What's good about having a chariot on the field apart from looking good? You're looking at high speed.
High
You're looking at
speed,
hitting-
you'd expect to do extra damage when you charge into combat, and then less damage the longer you're stuck in combat.
So kind of good for object grabbing.
Like hit and run attacks. Like if you've already got an enemy unit bogged down fighting someone, chariot charges in, does some damage, plows through them. That'd be a good rule for a chariot. Charge through enemy units rather than getting bogged down in combat.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And the more of them you try to go through, the more chance of you getting stuck. Something like that.
Yeah, I guess the black coach, you could say that was a kind of a chariot.
Chariot elements to it. I'll have to do a full chariot episode at some point and compare them to chariots from history and fiction. Okay.
I think chariots were really effective in history, but then when people kind of worked out how to defend against them, they suddenly became a bit useless.
People were saying though that chariots were actually terrible historically, battle, and that they were only useful for like showpiece or like games rather than actual real battles.
Chris Stewart says they worked for Boudica. Well, they did up to a point until there was just so many people involved in the battle, funneled into a small area, and suddenly the chariot becomes a hindrance. You know, when there's no room for it to turn round, and there's just too many bodies in the way, you're stuck on a motionless platform, and you're a big target. You know, or what if your horses or whoever's pulling the chariot get wounded? You're kind of screwed, really, aren't you?
What do you think about this? The Beast Skewer Killbow. For a start, I don't really like that name. Beast Skewer I can live with. Killbow, not so sure.
Killbow. Now this is a bolt thrower if I ever saw one, right? That you'd think would definitely penetrate a Stormcast armor. I like it, and this would definitely upset that chariot if one of these giant harpoons hit it, right?
You would think.
Is it twin launcher or is that?
I'm
just
struggling to see what's going on with that thing down there. Is that just the extra bolts that are stored in there? And the grot's taking one out to load into the...
I can't tell. Let's have a look at the above picture. That might reveal.
He's definitely got his hands on it. It's doing something with it, but I can't tell whether it's being inserted or removed.
Right, it's a spare one, isn't it?
Actually, yeah, because you can see the head of another one there. So there's a couple of them in there, so that's just the big container for them.
Brad says, is it a strength 7 auto kill? Could be. Yeah,
Breaker Boss on Maya Brute Troggoth. So this is one that a lot of people have taken a like to.
Wow, this is great, man. I've seen some pictures of this already where they've erased the orc on top, and now you've got like a Gloomspite Gips Troggoth right there, you know? He looks amazing. This is the model I'd like.
This is kind of halfway between a typical Troggoth and a Lord of the Rings cave troll, if you ask me. It's got that kind of gritty realism, but it's also got a little just hint of over the top to it. And I'll tell you what this thing reminds me of. This, even more than most of the other very squig-like shields we've seen, this just says Mad Balls to me. Anyone who doesn't remember Mad Balls, probably too young, so I won't try to explain it. Very nice though. This looks like something you could definitely add to your army, whether or not you want to go for the cruel boys, like you said.
Yeah, what's one up from a Troggoth again? What's the next? A cave troll? No. I've forgotten. What's the big thing? You get in the Gloomspite Gits army. You got your Fellwater Troggoths, haven't you? And you've got your Rock Gut Troggoths.
Someone in here will know what the extra large one's called.
Yeah, but then above that, you've got the sort of bloody can't remember. Is he one of those, or is he just a basic Troggoth? Because he looks bigger.
Does look big. Brad says, "Remember the Mad Balls cartoon?" Yes, I do remember that.
That's it. Thanks, Will. Dank Hold Troggoth. Is this the size of a Dank Hold Troggoth?
Could well be.
If it is, then I'm all in.
So, Brad, on the topic of Mad Balls, anyone that is a big Mad Balls fanatic, to this day, probably the best thing you can do is on Steam, I think it's probably on some consoles as well, Mad Balls in Babbo Invasion. Very cheap, fun, classic Mad Balls gaming action. It's got a great soundtrack as well. Leap into the era of the beast.
Okay, so that's a novel. Nice. That'd be interesting to sort of hear it from the Cruel Boys' point of view, maybe. You know, it might jump from chapter to chapter, or will it just be from Stormcast's point of view?
When will Dominion be here? Pre-order in June.
Wow.
So, does this look like something that you want?
If I didn't have any miniatures to paint and I had shed loads more time on my hands, and I wanted to start a new army, then yeah, absolutely.
I'd be tempted to dive on it, at least for the rule book. And then, if I decide I like any of the Stormcast enough to add them to my existing army, and any that I don't feel like keeping, I could always just sell.
Do you think this is going to sell out?
I think it'll be one of those that probably does sell out, and then maybe they'll do a smaller version of it later. That seems to be what they do now.
I don't know, because you can still buy the first edition of Age of... I mean, a lot of shops that I've been to, still got first and second box sets.
With the last 40k, though, they released an extra fancy edition first. That sold out. And then they released a smaller version later, I recall.
Yeah, but I can still get Soul Wars.
Yeah, but that was before they introduced this business model.
Oh, I see. So you think it could sell out?
So I think it could be something that people are going to be desperate to jump on. Yeah, there we go. This box will be available while stocks last. We made lots, but it certainly won't be around forever. There you go. So they'll do another smaller box later. Yeah, it's not the starter box, it's a limited pre-box. So it's like a super fancy version of the starter box, essentially.
So you'll get less stuff in the future box, do you think?
I assume, yes. Way less.
So yeah, Alexander says it's way more worth than the starter. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, now I guess now we're talking about price. What are you saying? Is it above £100? Below £100?
Yes, above.
Okay.
Probably. How much was the 40k one? Was that like 125, 130 or something?
I mean, are you saying below £150? That's below $200.
Probably.
Hmm. Probably.
Yeah, William says it'll be sold out in the first 5 minutes. So if your password hasn't been input correctly, then you're definitely going to miss out again. A little
What's
over
going-
£125, William says. So probably,
Wow.
if it's £130, with all that stuff you get in it, let's have another look at the main box contents picture.
I
There
mean,
we
if
go.
it's
So all
100,
that stuff.
that's amazing. £125, and then that's like £2 per miniature. You know?
If you were buying all just the heroes out of this box, you'd think those two would be almost 30 each, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The individual ones probably like £18.
Yeah.
So for just the heroes, you're almost getting towards the total price.
It's pretty amazing deal, isn't it? I mean, if I bought this, I mean, I'd just have so many miniatures all over again after spending years painting my collection and
Well, that's why
filling
you
things off and
that's why
keeping
you
what I
paint
want.
them though. So you've cleared some space so you can add new shiny or grimy, hideous rule boys to your collection.
What about Cursed City? I'm only painting the third model from Cursed City still.
Well, this isn't even up for pre-order for another few weeks.
Right.
So you've still got time. So what do you think? Do you think you're going to dive onto the Cruel Boys side of this box if you get the opportunity?
My better judgment says I'm just going to hold off. I might regret it. I don't know. I've just got too much to do. But it's pretty cool. Really cool.
We're definitely going to start playing Age of Sigmar again
In a big way.
things are opening up. So
maybe even weekly. Right?
at the very least, I'm definitely going to get that chariot. I can say that now. That's almost a guarantee, unless the price is just completely astronomical and makes no sense.
I mean, you've got a pretty full Stormcast host now, haven't you? Already.
I've got a decent-sized army.
Enough to fill just Stormcast.
Yes. Whether all my units are now completely terrible in the new edition, that remains to be seen. If they want to make the new ones the spicy new thing of the moment, and all the old models are now awful, barely usable. But that wouldn't stop us anyway, would it?
No, I mean, let's look at the Crawl Boys for a second. If you think that the Soul Wars box introduced the Nighthaunt to us, we've had a lot of Nighthaunt releases since that box. Do you think over the next couple of years we're going to see a lot more Cruel Boys new models coming out?
With them being in the starter box, I would say probably. What I'm kind of looking forward to doing at some point as well is, once we start playing a bit more, getting back on the Caradron Overlord wagon. I kept all the ones that I finished painting, so I've got all the boring, bog standard infantry done. So I could just paint the more exciting stuff at some point in the future. And I'm sure I'd be able to get them for a decent price now. There's probably a few floating around eBay.
Got you.
So that'd be something to think about as well before I would decide whether to jump in and get an entire blob of new Stormcast. It's probably worth, for anyone who can get the box, it would be worth it anyway, because even if you just wanted the rule book, you could get your money back. If you wanted to be just evil, you could get probably several times your money back selling off the models individually.
Yeah, I'm going to stick my neck out and say this is going to be £150. I think it's going to be on the upper end of things here, but I might be wrong. Maybe you guys know, but that's what I'm going to say. And I think it won't be discounted that much in independent stores.
As YouTube celebrity sensations, obviously it would have even more value to people like us, because being able to immediately create content on this when it's released.
Absolutely.
Drive up viewing numbers.
I mean, the 24 people that watch this show,
they would just go wild.
For sure. But me and you, Andy, we've got a lot of games to play to catch up, and we'll be churning out quite a lot of content, I'm thinking. over the next 6 months for sure. If you're interested in that kind of thing, right? It's been a long time since we did a battle report, man. So
And gaming is now open at Warhammer World again, so be down there. Not filming inside Warhammer World, obviously, because that's against the rules, but taking some nice, fancy pictures.
Yeah, I like the picture report. I've always liked the picture reports better.
There is definitely something to be said for them.
You know,
But people can keep their eyes peeled for that, because that's going to be coming soon.
and what you're gonna see in our battle reports is phenomenally painted models on a beautiful terrain as well, which you don't always get. To be fair, you hardly ever get. To be fair, right?
And you may see some potpourri on the bases as well.
Yeah, you're going to see everything, man. I've got a lot of scenery now too, but of course, because we'll be doing a lot of this at Warhammer World, we'll have the choice of some amazing terrain tables pre-built, right, to choose from.
I did have a look in there the other day as I was passing through making a purchase, and they've got a few tables, obviously not as many as before because they're very spaced out. There are a few people gaming on them. So there are certain times of the day and certain times of the week where it's going to be not very busy. So, and everything's pre-booked in advance now as well. So you're not going to turn up and then be disappointed that there's no space because you would already know that.
I mean, we're looking at Tuesdays at the minute, aren't we? So if any of you guys want to come by and you hear the cry of Remington, you know you're in the right place. Come and say hello. Tuesday
While
afternoon.
being socially distant, of course, and following whatever guidelines they have in place within the Warhammer World compound. Okay, shall we look at something else?
What are you thinking? Games Workshop share price? Aren't you intrigued?
Well, I have a feeling that you might have a little song to go with this next image.
What do you think this song suggests about the Games Workshop price? On an all-time high, it's Andy and Remington. Games Workshop shares just hit an all-time high. Remington's 0.1 share in Games Workshop stock is currently yielding 31.28%.
Before you
return of
before you
£2.85.
Before you delve into this, I'm just going to respond to a comment very quickly. Raphael says, I miss Andy's Kings of War battle reports. Well, they will be coming back very soon because gaming is now permitted. There will be gaming, there will be pictures taken, there will be battle reports. And I've even signed up for some Kings of War tournaments later in the year. So, fingers crossed all that goes ahead and the world doesn't explode. Anyway, back to the finances.
Well, that message was obviously more important than my song. So I won't be
It sounded like you'd finished the song, and then as I started talking, you broke into another line.
I was just bloody getting to the punchline. Anyway, yeah, but look, we can see that's the year chart for Games Workshop. It's not the 10, 15 year chart or however long Games Workshop shares have been in issue, but we can see there's been some significant ups and downs there. This flipping out, there's been some big ones. I first bought them at the far left of the page there, and around the previous all-time high, which was something like £117 a share. I managed to sell mine around 112, £13, so I got almost 100% profit. And then I thought, look, I can't leave this alone. The Games Workshop price dipped in that jagged thing you see on towards the right, and I bought my 0.1 share there, where the dotted line is, and you can see that was a phenomenal time to buy, because just look what it's done there. 30% within the last 3 months.
Imagine if you'd gone in for more than 0.1 share.
I know. I should have gone all in, really, because, this... I mean, you might be thinking, well, what's the catalyst for this recent surge in the share price? And I would say that perhaps it's the Warhammer TV, the Warhammer channel that they're talking about releasing, right? So forget Netflix, forget Amazon Prime. Warhammer are going to have their own subscription-based TV channel. Am I wrong? Well, that I believe was the catalyst, because subscription-based models are the thing that brings the revenue in consistently. So we could be pushing even to higher prices right now for Games Workshop share price, because when something reaches an all-time high, it's got no more resistance, so it can just keep going up. I mean, obviously not forever, but it's a really good sign of strength.
Okay, there we
So
go.
there.
Next,
Yeah.
there's a couple of things that we're going to look at now as well, because last week we were doing our predictions on where the Witcher miniatures board game would finish. And you predicted 2 million. I predicted 3.6, I think. And it's currently chugging along nicely at 2.7.
Wow. I mean, just imagine that. If you just, every day you just looked at your income sheet and it was just like that. It's just going up every few seconds.
Look at that. 30,000 backers.
It's huge. I mean, on Netflix, it's saying confirmed second season of The Witcher is coming.
I think it's been, I'm not sure if it's finished, but they were definitely filming.
It's just fantastic. I love the first season of The Witcher on Netflix now. Brilliant, man. So, a lot of fans from the books and the video games. It's surely a winner, right?
Is it going to end up with my prediction though? Is it going to go that high? If it gets a couple more 100,000, it's going to start getting closer to my prediction than yours. That's the most important thing.
I think we can say it's going to hit 3 million. I reckon. I mean, look, the initial goal was 10%, less than 10% of what it is now. So
I'm sure they knew it was going to just blitz through that, though.
You'd be absolutely plapping yourself, wouldn't you? Part of you, if you're behind this project, you'd be thinking, this is phenomenal. We've got so much money. We can build our own studios now or whatever. But the other part of you were thinking, how can we fulfill all these orders? It's gonna take years before we can get this out to the people that have bought.
Well,
right?
You do see that a lot with Kickstarter, with some of the really massive ones that people are really excited about, and then occasionally you have long waits for the products, or there's controversial things going on. There was a couple of high-profile Kickstarters a few years ago where the games were being sold at retail in the shops before they'd gone out to even half the backers, I believe. So sometimes you do run into that kind of nonsense. Some of the big Kickstarters. This company has a track record of fairly big Kickstarters, but nothing on this scale though. So people are obviously backing for the IP though. So we'll see whether they can live up to it. Okay, another thing that we're going to look at here. So, Rain in Hell. I know you're very eager to talk about this, Mr. Remington.
Yeah, I think this could deserve a bit more of a. I need to delve into this a lot more because Adam, Uncle Atom, and Vince Venturella, dear friends of our shows. In fact, they've both. Well, I've appeared on Warhammer Weekly a long time ago. Adam's a big fan favorite. It's coming into our show. Sent me and you a link to this PDF. It looks really, really good fun. There's a nice little video explaining it as well. Check out Rain in Hell. I want to read through it properly and play it, because the reason why is because not many people send me stuff. Andy, you get inundated with all sorts of stuff, don't you?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, I don't. So I felt really like I was so privileged to get sent this like a week in advance. I just haven't had the time to look through it, but I really want to, and I will. And it's a demonic skirmish game, Andy. I don't think I possess any demonic models, but
yeah, well, apparently you can use any demons you like in it. It doesn't have a specific range of miniatures in mind, just whatever demons your imagination or your culture has representing the beings of the underworld.
It looks like a lot of fun, and just the artwork looks like sort of 80s Games Workshop style books that come out back then. So it's very attractive to me. And the bottom of this page, you'll see a video explaining the campaign or the game, and you'll also see the comments below, and you'll see that Vince is replying to everyone's comments. Some people saying, "Oh, there's a bit of a printing error here," and he's right on it, replying to them. Really, really good community interaction here. It's great to see, like, big YouTubers creating their own games as well. Fantastic, man.
Well, obviously, we're going to have to do that next.
Yeah,
Not Witch Coven, though, after the flop that was the live action Witch Coven.
So I think you can download the PDF for like £10, or you can get the book version, the actual physical book version there too, soft cover. It's at a discount as well. Watermarked PDF, soft cover, black and white book. That's a great deal.
Can't argue with that.
So how do you get there? Do you just type in "rain in hell" in Google? How do you?
If you type it into the search bar in wargamevault.com, then you'll definitely find it. So there you go. Demons battling it out for control of hell. You can use whatever demon miniatures you like.
Will Matthews has ordered his copy. That's fantastic, man. So do let us know what you think.
Yeah, and we'll see if it becomes the next big thing, because obviously both of the YouTube people involved in it have their own followings, so that's a ready-made audience instantly.
Yeah, and of course, Rain in Hell was written as a sort of a tester, because the bigger project is going to be something like Forest of Rem for Snarling Badger Studios, I'm sure.
Obviously. Anyway. So, I've complained recently that people haven't been successfully guessing the answer to what the hell is that. However, one of the previous episodes has been guessed correctly. So I'm going to show you. That's what it was. It was 4 miniatures from the Age of Sigmar range, one from each of 4 different Grand Alliances. And I'm going to bring up the answer on my phone and tell you who got it right now. So, I believe this is 100% correct. If it's only 75% correct, they're still going to have it though. Nobody was able to get this. Do you want to have a quick go before I reveal the answers? Can you get any of these?
The dagger looks like it could be Nighthaunt, and the arm.
But what from the Nighthaunt though is the question.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I don't know.
Well, shall I just tell you?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, let's have a look.
Oh, Spirit Host. Spirit Host. That's a Spirit Host arm. And
sadly, it's not Spirit Host.
Oh.
So, the dagger is from Nagash. One of the spirits on Nagash. The staff, guess is that it's from a Magister from the Disciples of Zench. Pink bit, the guest says that's a nose of a squig from the Sneaky Snifflers. And the blades is the top of the helm of the Avatar of Cain from the Cauldron of Blood. So these were guessed by Raphael Marge.
Wow.
And there you go.
Wow. That was amazing. How did he get those? Flipping heck.
Very keen eye.
I was kind of right with the Spirit Host though, wasn't I? You know?
Well, it is kind of like a Spirit Host attached to Nagash, but they are unique.
I think Raphael deserves a £1,000 Bad Squiddo Gaming token.
I don't know if we can quite deliver on that, but there will certainly be a draw whenever we get up to a certain number of successful people in the What the Hell Is That community. Put them all into a hat and we'll find a prize and see who gets it for a particular month, or if we only get like 2 winners in a month, we might extend it to 2 months just to add a bit of spice. And of course, if you win more than one edition of What the Hell Is That, you get more than one entry into the draw. So keep guessing away. There are still a couple up. They're separate videos now on this channel. There are still some that haven't been correctly guessed yet. I think that last week's one was guessed correctly as well. It was a Kings of War special, and we will look at that next week. Got the pictures lined up here. But more what the hell is that to come. Hey, Josh says not a touch on cheeks. I assume he's talking about Rain in Hell. Well, obviously, very few games come close to the majesty, the strategic depth, but also the instant playability of cheeks.
But you're comparing apples to oranges there, right? One's a card game, and the other's a skirmish tabletop.
But to be fair, nothing does compare to cheeks from any gaming stratosphere. If anyone, by the way, out there owns a copy of Cheeks, and you would like, they're not exactly a new edition of the rules, but there are a few tweaks that I made to the rules, which is probably never going to see print because it would require like reprinting the whole game just for a few tweaks. But if you want like the Cheeks bonus, slightly more streamlined, extra spicy version of the rules, then I can send you a little text document with some changes in it. So anyone out there that plays Cheeks, send me a message and I will get you a copy of that document.
So Cheeks, of course, is the card game that
Yes.
Andy actually invented, and it was put out there it's really nice. Can you still get it, Andy?
I don't know if it's still available. You know what? I'm going to have a look right now if it's still available.
Have a look.
Let's see.
I mean, do you still own the sort of rights to it, or did you have to?
It's still... Let's have a look. Oh yeah, I think you can still buy it, yeah. At WordForge Games. They were the publishers.
Look at this. This is Cheeks at Zatu Games UK. Cheeks is a highly strategic hamster-powered version of poker.
Yeah, that's the official description.
It's out of stock on Zatu Games.
Yeah, I'm sure it's available. A lot of the places have probably got a few copies of Cheeks knocking around, but you can definitely still get it from WordForge Games according to their website here.
Wayland Games do it. Wayland Games, 10% discount there. They've got 10 plus copies in stock.
I still have, I think, 2 copies in my possession. So at various times I've given them away as prizes and just given them away as presents and whatnot to people over the years. So I've still got a couple of my copies left, but not many.
I mean, in fact, I had my own character card, didn't I, Andy?
Yes, you're definitely in there.
I didn't receive a copy of the game myself, but
did you not buy one?
No, I'm waiting for my free copy, man.
Well, you've been waiting 5 years for a free copy when you could have bought one.
Well, maybe I'll buy one then. Maybe I'll buy one when I sell my stocks. I'll reward myself with a copy of Cheeks.
There you go, and I can give you the updated version of the rules as well, free of charge.
Well, we've had a packed show there, and there's so much we didn't have time to do Forest of Rem.
No, we did know beforehand, unfortunately, that we wouldn't have time for Forest of Rem this week because Dominion just completely packed out the show, and then we had all these other things to touch on as well at the end. But next week, Forest of Rem will return, of course, and we'll find out whether Remington can make a triumphant return to the realm of Rem with his wyvern and his Mega Gargant by his side. Still has to go back and take the chickens to the old crones first to see what happens there. So everyone, strap yourselves in. Next week, it's Forest of Rem turn. So what have we got time for at the end of this show? Well, before we close the show, of course, let's get something nice and relaxing on the screen, shall we? What have we got?
Oh man, is it time for Andy's deep bath?
It probably is. Let's have a look at the contents of Dominion, and then let's bring up some nice steam across the bottom of the screen there, because it's time for
Andy's deep bath.
My mum to ring.
as Remington accepts a phone call, which you can just hear as he exits the deep bath arena. Find yourself seated around the edge of the deep bath, which is more like a large hot tub big enough for 100 people. But still, it's a very intimate and cozy setting, but socially distant. So sit back, relax, allow the bubbles, water to splash against your mostly naked torso, but not so naked that you would get arrested for exposing yourself to the other people. Mostly naked. So, deep relaxation, relax every part of your body. See that seated around the VIP section of the deep bath are people flashing their VIP badges, which clearly displays that they are patrons, supporters on Patreon of this channel, to the required amount to enter the VIP section. And those people are, around the edges you can see, Cedar, Oshi, Tim, John, Graham, Nippleless, Eric, Brad, Barbara and Guy, all of them enjoying the deep bath from the VIP section. So they're being served snacks, they're getting their shoulders massaged gently. As you are most likely not in the VIP section, it's still relaxing, but not quite to that level. However, as you enter a deep trance, visions of not spending all your money on Dominion, saving that, pledging it to this channel via Patreon, buying the Redbubble merchandise, which can be found in the description, buying, for example, Forest of Rem wall clock, or an Andy and Rem show set of coasters. What a treat. Yes, that's what you want to do with your. Meantime, you want to subscribe to this channel, like the video. You want to join the Andy and Rem Show Discord server to share in all the wargaming goodness. Follow me on Twitter. Follow D2D6 on Instagram. Maybe you'd even think about subscribing to Remington Steel YouTube, or once every 6 years slice of content. Let's do all these things to varying degrees. Least of all, subscribe to Remington, but still on the list. That you feel completely relaxed. It's time. Water's started to cool a bit. It's time to get out of the splash. Let's get rid of that steam. Show that everyone is safely out of the deep. Remington is still on the phone. Anyone that's still here, by the way, you should be liking this video. 14 likes. I want to see at least 17 likes when we go off the air tonight. Let's see. Raphael painted all the models from the first. What the hell is that? That does give you a bit of advantage if you've painted all the models that are featured in an episode of What the Hell Is That. Stay tuned for more episodes of that. I'm trying to do one every single week. It's pretty quick to do, actually. Now that I've got the What the Hell Is That video template down, it's just a matter of making the new amalgamation of hideous bits of miniatures and then just inserting it into the existing video template. So it's not too difficult a process, so I should be able to keep up with that every week if people are guessing, engaging with the content. So I think Remington's going to be stuck on the phone until the end of the show now. So let's have a look at the episode thumbnail again. Obviously, I spend untold hours working on these things. Even though I did make them recently a bit more eye-catching and less silly Photoshop work involved, because obviously in the past I would have put my face onto the chief there and put Remington's face onto the steed. But now you just get shocked expressions, because that's what grabs eyeballs on YouTube, apparently. We're up to 16 likes, we need one more. At least. So for people saying, yes, bring back Kings of War battle reports, they are definitely being brought back as soon as I start playing Kings of War, which is going to be very, very soon. You can also expect to see more The Walking Dead battle reports as well. Playing more of that very soon. And, with any luck, Age of Sigmar. Once we get back into Warhammer Worlds play game, which we could do now, in theory. I believe the Remster is occupied this week.
Is that back?
Oh, he's back. Just in time. Just in time to end the show. Anything else you want to say?
I missed all that. I missed everything you said about Deep Bath. Maybe lots of positive things about how amazing my YouTube channel is. With 665 subscribers, and these are stalwarts of the community that have stayed with me. I did have 666, but someone unsubscribed. So there you go.
I did definitely encourage people to subscribe to your channel during the deep bath when they were under that deep hypnosis and subject to the powers of suggestion. So you may see a couple of new subscribers as a result of that.
Even Rafa Maj, it says, the Master and Will Matthews, they're both stumped with your second what the hell is that? It's too hard, everyone's saying.
Let's see, can I give you any advice on the what the hell is that nobody has got yet? Let me just check which one that was. Let's see. It was... Let's crack this open, because I will give you a bit of a clue. I'm nice like that. So let me just check. Oh yeah, it was that one. So, the episode no one's got yet, which is episode 2. That, I told you it was 2 versions of the same model from different eras. I can also tell you, let's see what would be a good clue. That model, the name of it was mentioned on this episode at some point. So for anyone that paid attention during this show, that is a very good clue. 2 versions of the same model. It was mentioned on this episode. So if that helps you at all, dive onto what the hell is that episode 2.
If I know Andy, it's going to be Nagash, isn't it? That's a massive clue there.
If it's Nagash, then if you think it's Nagash, get in there and be the first to guess Nagash. But I would advise using your eyeballs first. You can guess as many times as you like them. So, time to end the show. Parting words, Mr. Remington?
It's been lovely to see you all. I feel like times are changing for the better now. I spent the day in Nottingham, busy city centre, lots of activity, lots of sunshine. You know, I think things are going to go back to normal very soon.
Let's hope so. Gaming is certainly back, and your eyes peeled because we'll be playing some games, reporting on them very soon. So with that, all that remains to be said is good night out there. Whatever you...
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer